Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another episode of Shoots with Coops, and today we're talking scanning. Scanning film, specifically 35mm film. Now, I hate scanning. Just want to flat out say that off the bat. I hate scanning, it is a pain, but a really nice, quote I read from a blog post once is, scanning is the bottleneck in which film must pass through, and it's totally right. You can have the best film camera and, the most expensive lens. But if you're getting your scans done with a crap scanner, you're going to have a crap looking image. There's no way around it. So unfortunately, scanning is one of those things that people do tend to go and use the professional labs, use those high-end machines because they're sort of the things that deliver the best results. But now with the price rise of certain films, shooting film in general has become more expensive, so home scanning is something that people are really looking into. And for the longest time, I have lots of experience with the Epson flatbeds, as you can see. That's my V700 under the dust cover there. Lots of experience with that, and lots of experience more recently with DSLR scanning. Now, I had been using this really old Tamron 90mm 2.8 macro lens, an old Nikon mount lens with an extender to get a 1:1 ratio on my Fuji X-T3 to scan my 35mm negatives. I've always used a flatbed for medium format because flatbeds do a really good job for medium format film. They're just a lot slower. But for 35mm flatbeds are notorious for not being that great, and the dedicated 35mm scanner options out there are generally much better. So like you saw by the title, guys, I think I have found what we can call a modern day Pakon film scanner. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Pakon, any hardcore film shooter knows what the Pakon scanner is. They're very, very old, used by, your drugstore mini labs, think places like that, sort of around the 90s, early 2000s. And they do a really good job. They are all automatic, just feed your film in, it does the whole thing itself. The problem with those is they are getting very old, and they're also extremely expensive for what they do. From memory, quote me if I'm wrong in the comments, but from memory, I think the Pakons generally only give you about a 2400 DPI scan. So the resolution's not bad, but you're definitely not going to be doing any giant prints with that scanner. But the colors from it are fantastic. Never actually used one myself, but everything I've watched, seen, they are a great machine. They just are becoming quite limiting. Also in the fact that generally they cannot be run by any modern computers. You need to either have an old Windows 2000 or XP-ish computer to run it, or have some sort of ghost drive set up on your current computer. So pretty fiddly to actually get the thing set up. And right now, the last time I checked, price rise, they're going from anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 Australian dollars, which is pretty damn expensive. So I was looking for another option. Now, like I said, I had been using this vintage macro lens on my X-T3, getting pretty good results, but I was seriously considering investing in a really, really good macro lens. Now, if anyone has looked, really good macro lenses native to the mount of your camera, for instance, for the Fuji, it's the 80mm macro lens, which is meant to be an absolutely superb lens, except it's about 1,600 Australian dollars brand new. So a pretty big investment for just scanning film negative. Then I started looking for more dedicated 35 scanners, and what I found is this. It is sitting right behind me there, this little grey box, and it is the Pacific Image primefilm XAS Super Edition. It's a mouthful. Essentially, this bad boy is a automatic, only 35mm. You can batch scan with it, hence the modern Pakon. You can batch scan with this bad boy. It is a modern, dedicated 35mm film scanner with batch scanning options. Now, features-wise, it does boast a very, very impressive 10,000 DPI resolution, but from some of the reviews I have seen and from actual testing, it seems to be like at 5,000 DPI, that's about it. But it genuinely will do 5,000 DPI quality scans, which is quite amazing. Most scanners claim, like my Epson V700, even the new modern V800s, they all claim 4,500, 5,000, 7,000 DPI, but the general consensus with most flatbeds is they top out at about 2,400. Whereas I can safely say this will give you roughly a 5,000 DPI image. It's pretty fantastic. Now the scanner also does scans with 48-bit color depth, and it does 4.2 Dmax for density dynamic range, for those of you who don't know. Now, I'm just going over my notes here because I don't want to get this wrong. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is compared to the V700, which I own. Definitely better. The scans coming out of this are night and day better than any flatbed 35mm scans. Like I said, I still use a flatbed for medium format because it does do a fantastic job, but this little unit definitely performs so much better, and it's a lot easier and faster than using a flatbed scanner, to be perfectly honest. Now the software, that's one, there's a couple bugs with this thing. We'll talk about it before we start getting into the images. The bugs-ish, I mean the software, the native software, CyberView X, it's total garbage. Don't even bother. I mean, you have to install it so you can do a firmware update on the scanner, but don't bother scanning with it. It's a really basic, ugly interface. Furthermore, the machine does come with a copy. When you buy it, you do get a copy of Silverfast. However, I already own Silverfast. I've already got it installed and a license for my V700, but I cannot get this damn thing to work with Silverfast. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I just cannot get the program to recognize the scanner. So that leaves one last scanning software which I recommend and a lot of people do, and that is ViewScan. ViewScan is fantastic, and luckily ViewScan does actually offer a batch scan function. So you can use ViewScan and set the scanner up, feed in your 35mm, press scan, walk away, come back in about, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes, and you've got 36 negatives done, ready to go. Now, there's a couple cons I want to talk about first, and it's not really cons as in image quality. The image quality is fantastic. The main con I see with this is the negative carrier, I suppose you could call it. Where you actually insert your film, there's no dust cover or anything like that. So if you leave it exposed in the room and don't use it for a while, it's going to get dust in there, and that is going to be a pain in the ass. So you want to try and cover it with something. And the other part of that is when using this for what it was intended to, for batch scanning, which is I think the biggest appeal to most film shooters, there's no trays on either side, and there doesn't seem to be any aftermarket sort of trays or things anyway to actually hold your film. You essentially just leave your film on the table and let it run through, but the whole while it's sitting there, it is going to collect dust and stuff, which is really not ideal. But there is a little pretty cheap and easy workaround which I have found, guys, and that is, if I can find one, good old-fashioned Glad Ziploc sandwich bags. Now it sounds a bit stupid, but as someone who develops film at home, I'll develop my negatives, let them dry, and then I will spool them up inside one at a time. I'll spool it up and I will spool it up like so, and then I will actually stick it inside the Glad Ziploc bag, and then I will feed the beginning of the film leader into the machine and leave the rest inside the Ziploc bag. And because the thing is motorized and it will automatically move to the next frame, you don't have to touch it. When you leave the actual Glad bag there next to the machine, you're not getting any dust on your film because it's protected, and slowly it is just sucking in the film, scanning it without any dust. It's great. The only other problem is it does come out the other end and there's no tray or anywhere to put it, but I'm not too fussed about that because once I've got the scans I'm happy with, that's perfect. You know, the negatives can get a little bit dusty, I'll just blow them down before I cut and sleeve them. But that is a little quick fix for that problem. Okay guys, so what you want to know is how good are the scans? What's the scan quality like? How good is it? How do the colors come out? Well, let's jump into the computer. Alright guys, so with the ViewScan software, it's pretty simple. As I said, the other one, the one that comes with it isn't very good and I couldn't get Silverfast to run, but ViewScan does a great job and a lot of people do use it regardless. So your source is going to be your scanner. Now, media, you can scan slide film if you want to scan a negative, or if you want to scan a slide, or if you want to scan it as a negative image to convert with Negative Lab Pro in Lightroom, or just straight color negative, 48-bit RGB. Now, your resolution, like I said, the machine claims 10,000, but it actually does about 5,000 DPI. So I set it for the max. The files are big, but they're not that big. Autofocus is the next one. Now you want to set it to scan because this machine does autofocus and does do a good job. Now, infrared cleaning, that's if you want to do the dust removal. It does a good job, but obviously it makes the scans take even longer. As it stands, a 5000 DPI scan is going to take about 2.5 minutes that I timed. So it's not too bad. Now, sharpening. If you don't want to sharpen outside of this program, just click it and let the program and the scanner do its job. It does a good thing. I always leave it off because I like to scan using Photoshop, and I'll show you guys that afterwards. I think it just does a better job for removing dust and sharpening. And then the last output, with the color tab, you can actually select the negative type. So it won't let me do it right now because there's nothing, the scanner's not fired up, but you can select Kodak, Fuji, Ilford, and then select from a list of different types of film, which is really great. And then lastly, with output, you want to select TIFF because you want that bit more information, because generally with all home scanning, you've got to do a little bit of tweaking, and you want to do it with a TIFF because then you just have that little bit more information. So then you go ahead and scan. Now, if you're batch scanning, like this machine was intended for, click batch scanning on, and like I've done here, if you want to scan a strip of 6, you can just go 1-2-3-4-5-6, and it will scan all 6 negatives through the machine. What you need to do, obviously, on a roller clip now, when you first insert the film, you need to line it up correctly. Now, if you look inside through the window on the top of the scanner, you can see the film negative. You want to press the forward or reverse buttons until the negative is completely within the frame of the scanner. It's really quite simple. And then from there, once you hit the batch scan, it will advance the film correctly to the next frame. It won't skew the film so you've got half a negative and then, cropped images. It will perfectly advance the film so you can just get a clean scan of the entire whole image every time. Then, as like I said, also, if you're going to do a whole roll and you've got it in there, you just would go -7, 8, 9, 10, etc. until you get to 36, and it will scan all 36. Now, once I've done the scan, this was a Kodak Portra 400. I did the color scan with the machine just to get a flat scan, and then I didn't sharpen it, brought it straight into Photoshop, and then I like to use the spot brush tool to get rid of dust because it does such a better job than what Lightroom actually does. And then when I sharpen it, I go filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. Now that looks really bad because I've already sharpened the image, but that's my settings: 200, 2.1 radius, no noise reduction, and it will sharpen the image up and make it look absolutely crisp. Now once I've done that, I come into Lightroom, and what I do in Lightroom isn't much. I've already sharpened the image. All I like to do is adjust the white balance because this may be a little bit warm and a little bit magenta maybe. Oh, maybe too much that. Too much. Just little tweaks like that. I don't hit the auto button. I just do it by feel, and then I bump up the contrast because it gave me quite a flat scan. I usually bump the contrast quite a way up. Simple as that. Maybe it's just a little bit too blue still. Turn it back a bit. The only other thing you can do, which I don't mind Lightroom doing, is if you come down into the detail tab and the color section, sometimes you do get it, when even the high-end Ritsu machines I've seen do this, you get a lot of like pixel noises you can kind of see. I usually just change the color tab to about 20, 30 or something, just to reduce some of that sort of fringing noise that sometimes comes into it, and that is pretty much it. Done. I'm not going to finish cropping this out just because I want to show you guys, just a real quick and easy one. I'm just going to export this bad boy, and then now for the fun part, we're going to compare them. Alright, so now I'll bring up the scan here, okay, that's been sharpened, and compare it to a lab scan I got of this. Now, the lab scan was done with the Noritsu, It's a great lab, does a great job. I'm not knocking the lab, I just wanted to show you the kind of different results you can, the results this machine can achieve at home and how much detail it actually pulls out of a 35mm negative. It's insane. So if we zoom in here, I'm going to zoom in a lot. Now, I don't like to pixel peep, guys, but I'm just trying to show you how much detail this bad boy can actually pull out. If I zoom in to roughly the same size here compared to the lab scan, so if you can actually see the X-ray scan on the left, to me, it just looks so much more detailed. It looks a little bit softer on the lab scan, and this was a high-res scan, and it is a great lab, but it just goes to show how good the results are that you can actually get out of this machine. Colors are really good. It's fantastic, guys. Now I want to show you another example, some Lomography 800. Now this conversion here was used, I scanned the file as a negative, and I converted it with Negative Lab Pro inside Lightroom because I do love that software. I'm going to bring up the lab scan that I got, and you guys are going to see something pretty cool again. Now, the lab scan was done by a lab here in Perth, and it's not bad, but you can actually see like it's kind of green in the shadows, like the white balance is maybe off a bit. Using Negative Lab Pro, great colors, but again, I want to show you guys the detail this machine pulls out. So if I zoom in on both to roughly the same size, you can see how much more detail in the building rubble and in the shadows that this scanner actually pulls out of a 35mm negative. It's so great. Like if you actually look on the right here at the center, the writing on the crane from the lab scan, you can barely make out the writing below City Circle on the crane, but if you look over to the left, you can clearly read demolition, excavation, recycling. Like the detail is absolutely amazing. I'll show you guys some more examples. I scanned an entire batch, scanned a whole roll of Ilford HP5 last night that I shot with my Minolta CLE. And I just set it up, batch scanned, walked away, and just these were just super quick scans. The detail is fantastic, tonality, and you zoom in and there's so much detail. This machine just does such a great job, and having something like this at your fingertips at home is amazing. Alright guys, so you've seen the results. This primefilm XA Super Edition, whatever that means, this is the second version of this. There was a previous version and obviously they made some improvements. As you can see guys, it's actually really not that big of a scanner. It's not much different to the PlusTech variety of 35 standalone film scanners. I'm so impressed with this thing guys. The detail you can get, like you can see, great colors. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Like I said, the user interface with that software is pretty bad. Using ViewScan, in my opinion, is 100% necessary for this scanner and does give fantastic results. But I seriously really can't recommend this scanner enough. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, I don't know why more film shooters aren't using it. I think it just goes with the fact that there's not that much information on it, and the most I could find about it was the reviews about it on B&H, where I got this film scanner from. I got it from B&H, shipped from America to Australia. It was about $800 after the conversion. That was express shipping. The scanner itself, after the conversion from US to Australian dollars, was about $800, which I still think is worth it because, like I said at the beginning of the video, I was thinking about investing in that $1,600 Fuji macro lens just to do this. So this was half the price, and I think it is giving better results, to be perfectly honest. Having that, that CCD sensor, I love CCD sensors. That's why people love the Leica M9. But it just seems to do such an amazing job. Now, who is this for? I think this is for anybody who shoots a lot of 35mm, at least maybe a couple rolls a week, or maybe, you might shoot, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 rolls every fortnight, something like that. For the family man like me, you know, I've got a little boy now, lots to do around the house with my wife, with the kid, with little Maxi boy. It's just I don't have time to sit in front of the computer and, you know, dick around with the flatbed and change things out, and I still want that high quality scan, so it definitely works for me. If you're someone that, you know, maybe you're thinking about getting into the whole DSLR macro scanning, but instead of buying yourself a new camera, a new macro lens, you can get this, which just sorts out your 35mm scans off the bat and saves some money. Or if you're a scanning enthusiast, maybe definitely check this one out. But I just wanted to do this for you guys today because there's not a great deal of info about this bad boy on the internet, and I really think it is the modern day Pakon. It does everything you need a dedicated 35 scanner to do. Set it up, scan, walk away, and you're done. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions about this. Pop them in the comments down below. I will try and answer what I can for you guys. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Until next time, happy shooting, and I'll see you guys later.